You are about to watch an episode of my new true crime podcast, but here's the thing. It's not real. It's not a real true crime story, and it's not even a real podcast. I have invited one of my friends to be on my new true crime show, and I'm going to be reading them a crazy true crime case. In reality, I'm reading the plot to an episode of Scooby Doo, Where Are You? The last time I did this, I tried to find the most believable Scooby Doo episode I could find, and this time it got a little bit more crazy. Welcome to Unleashed, a true crime podcast. Today I'm joined by my guest, Gunnar Willis. He's an amazing actor, director, writer, all-around most talented person I know. Hey, you can catch him on the new Amazon Prime show, The Bondsman. Here's a clip of him with Kevin Bacon.
Come on, you son of a bitch.
Hey, Princess.
Oh, shit.
That was awesome. That's badass.
Since I didn't see the clip, I'm hoping you actually didn't show a clip from the show.
Can you imagine if I recreated a clip of the show with puppets?
Yeah, there you go. That's what you should do.
Okay, so this show, I have found the craziest, most insane true crime stories.
Okay.
True crime cases.
Okay.
But here's the twist.
Okay.
You have to solve it. So I hope you're ready to put on your detective hat. It's November 8th, 1969. Two teenage boys are walking home from their neighborhood pizza place one evening. A car drives by them and hits a pothole, causing a violin case to fall out of the vehicle. The boys tried to wave down the car to let them know that they lost something, but the car was gone. So one of the boys pick up the violin case and they notice that it is extremely heavy. He opens it up and it is filled to the brim with $100 bills. Thousands and thousands of dollars worth. So this is in 1969. There are no cell phones. So one of the two boys runs down the street to a payphone so that they can call the rest of their friends. While they're doing that, the other teenager is waiting with the violin case. He's guarding the case of money. He notices a dog whimpering and limping beside a dark car a little bit down the street. The case, the violin case, is way too heavy to run with, so he sets it down and he rushes over to help the whining dog. He's getting closer to the dog when he hears something behind him. He turns around and someone has taken the case. The case is gone. He turns around again towards the injured dog, and both the dog and the car that the dog was beside are gone. And that's when he realized he's messed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The boy realizes the case is gone, he's messed up. Shortly after, the first boy that ran off to talk on the phone, he returns with three of their other friends who had driven down to come check out the money. The teenager explains what had happened with the injured dog and then the car, and then the case was gone. And so while he's showing them where the injured dog was that he was going to go check on, they find a little puppet control laying on the ground, like a little wood T. You ever seen those like marionette puppets? Yeah, it's just the cross, the control.
Okay.
And it's just laying there in the
Just the
street.
cross.
And the little puppet control says Pietro's Puppets on it. So they figure that must be the name of the puppet show that gets put on at their local community theater.
Okay.
This puppet control makes the boy who saw the hurt dog realize, yo, I think that hurt dog I saw was actually a puppet.
Okay.
They like lured me away from the violin case so that they could get it back. Come here.
It'd work on me.
You made it seem way less creepy. You made it seem comical. I want to remind you, this is a small town on a Saturday night in 1969. There is nothing to do.
Okay.
So these kids are like, well, let's go down to the community theater and let's see if we can find the money or maybe some money.
Okay.
They had it in their heads that someone must be like, they must be counterfeiting money or they're doing something crazy, drug dealing, something.
Got it.
And maybe if they go to the theater, they can find more cash that was hidden.
Okay.
They show up to the theater and there is a doorman, like a security guard. And the doorman is like playing with a puppet. And so they walk in. It's pretty dark and creepy inside. It's just kind of like a security light.
Uh-huh.
And the doorman asks, what are you here for? And they're like, oh, well, We were wondering when auditions were for the next production. And, you know, they're talking to the doorman.
Yeah.
While they're talking to the doorman, one of the kids, one of the teenagers, is walking around just kind of looking at some of the puppets that are on display.
Yeah.
And he finds a $100 bill tucked away. And it looks like the same cash that was in the violin case.
Okay.
So the kids, they bail because they're like, oh shit, we're onto something. They're like, thanks for the info. We got to go now. See ya. And they bail out of there. They run back there. They get back in their car and they have this $100 bill and they're driving away and they're arguing about what to do with their new money.
Okay.
And a couple of them are like, yo, let's go get some pizzas and spend this before anyone finds out about it. And one of the others is looking at it and she's like, guys, I think this is counterfeit. Like, I do not think this is a real $100 bill.
Okay.
So now the kids are like, what is going on? Is there some sort of like crime operation being run out of the theater? So they decide they're going to turn around and go back.
Okay.
They just left.
Okay. Yeah.
They go back to the theater and they creep up to the door and they see that the doorman that they were talking to, he's just kind of hunched over his desk. It looks like he's passed out asleep.
Okay.
So they sneak in the door, they go past him into the theater, and they just kind of start searching the stage and the backstage areas for money. And one of the teenagers are beside a set. There's some sets built backstage, and the set wall falls over and almost crushes him.
Buster Keaton.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Like it's got a window open and he's standing still and it lands on top of him.
Yeah.
Oh man. Two of the other kids, they're searching near the props and a sandbag from up in the catwalk falls down, almost landing on them. So now they see someone is running around trying to hurt the teenagers that are sneaking around the theater. And they catch a glimpse of the guy. He's running around the theater trying to attack him. He's wearing a giant gray cloak and a big black hat and a theater mask from the costume closet of the theater. And they know that this guy got the items from the costume closet because when they were searching the costume closet, they found an identical matching costume. It's like a Phantom of the Opera or something.
Right.
So while they're running around the theater, they end up underneath the stage.
Okay.
There's a decent sized room underneath the stage and it's filled with what? What do you think it's filled with?
So that's the mystery I'm trying to figure out.
No, this is just a little side
little
quest.
The puppets?
No, it's violin cases. Tons of violin cases. So the kids, they start opening them up, expecting them to be all stuffed with cash, like the one they found. They're all empty.
Okay.
At this point, the kids are pretty freaked out.
Yeah.
And it's clear that there's not any more money to find. So they decide to haul ass out of there.
Okay.
But before they leave the room under the stage, they start hearing someone play the organ in the theater. They rush up to the stage to see if they can catch who's playing the organ. And they catch another glimpse of the guy that's running around with the cloak and the hat. He's playing the organ, and I kid you not, the lights flicker, and he is gone. This is the teenagers recounting, by the way,
Right.
so take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
This is where it gets insane. This is where this becomes one of the most insane true crime stories I've ever read.
Okay.
A Viking comes out of nowhere and starts yelling at them on the stage near them. Then he's gone. Then a pirate shows up on the stage and starts screaming at the other side of them. The next second, he's gone. Now, the dog that they saw earlier that night by the car shows up on the stage.
It starts yelling at them.
Yeah, and starts yelling. It's French for some reason. At this point, one of the kids realized, oh God, that's the dog I saw. I know what's going on here. Runs over there, snatches up the dog, and it's a puppet. When he ran over to grab it, he tore the puppet a little bit, and some metal is sticking out. They rip up the puppet and they see what's stuffed inside of it. It's engraving plates for counterfeiting money. The kids, they run to leave the theater because they're going to go tell the doorman what's going on. Hey, we found these plates in the puppets. We think something's going on here. They get to his desk where he's sleeping, down on his head down on the desk still. He's still sleeping. They rush over to shake him awake. When they touch him, he falls apart. The doorman is a puppet too. Earlier, when they were talking to him, they weren't all the way in the room. Like he was over here on this side of the room by his desk and it's kind of dim in there. Who they were talking to was a puppet being puppeteered.
Okay. Okay.
It's like a giant life-size puppet of an old man.
Right.
They're terrified.
Right.
They run to leave out the door. The door has been bolted shut. One of the teenagers is holding the engraving plate and a bird swoops down and takes the engraving plate from his hand.
This is a true story?
Yes. Now, get this. The bird, the pirate, the Viking, they're all puppets. Big marionette puppets. This theater, it's got the I don't know the exact like word for it, but caging, where up there is where they do these big puppet productions. So this whole time, all these creatures they've been running into have been being puppeteered up on the catwalks.
Okay.
They run back. They're freaked out. The door's bolted, so they just run back, and they end up back in the room where all the empty violin cases were, where they were under the cage.
Okay.
And that's when they find a giant harp case leaned against the wall. They didn't see it earlier. Well, they find out that the giant case is actually covering up a doorway to an adjoining room.
Okay.
They had to like move it out of the way.
Nice.
They go into that room thinking it could be an exit, and they find a giant printing press, like huge, takes up the whole room.
Yeah.
And there is boxes and boxes of cash all over the room. This is where the counterfeiting operation was taking place. They hear the door creak behind them. They turn around and they see the cloaked guy, and he charges at them. They take off running through a different doorway, and now they are actually in the tunnels underneath the theater, the ones that the performers use to run back and forth without being seen by the audience during shows. The cloaked guy is yelling at them about how they know his secret, and they are terrified. They think that this guy is going to kill them to keep his counterfeiting operation a secret. So they run across the tunnel and they start climbing the ladder at the end of it to get back up to the stage. And it brings them back on the stage. They're searching around for an emergency exit when the Viking puppet shows back up on the stage and starts running towards them. They realize, they critically think, let's stop and think for a moment. We know this is a puppet.
Yeah.
They look up at the catwalk to see who is puppeteering the puppet, and they see the cloaked guy up in the catwalk puppeteering this Viking puppet.
Okay.
One of the teenager guys, he's had enough. He's like, you know what? I'm done running.
Right.
I'm gonna go get him. He starts climbing up to get to the catwalk and run after the guy who's the puppet master. He's gonna chase him down. The puppet master takes off running across the catwalk, slips. He falls off the catwalk and free falls like 15 feet to the stage. The second he hits the ground, one of the other teenagers grabs one of the tubas that's on the side of the stage, grabs the tuba, slams it into this guy's head, knocking him out cold. They manage to take off. They get to the front box office and they call the cops from the front desk where the doorman used to be, the puppet.
Yeah.
The cops show up and they arrest the guy in the cloak. Who was the guy in the cloak? That's the mystery you have to solve.
Okay. The guy in the cloak. Was it Pierre, the puppeteer? I remember Pierre puppets being on the bag that they found?
It was on the puppet control.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
That's right. The cross that they found. So that's really the only thing I've been holding on to.
No, I mean, that's really good. That's really
so,
good. If that's what you want to lock in, we can rock with it.
Okay. So we have Pierre the puppeteer, which we haven't actually seen. We just seen
Right.
his name. And then we have the driver of the car who we don't know. Yeah, the only thing that's like hitting even remotely is that Pierre, but I don't feel confident in it.
I mean, that's a good.
Let's lock it in.
You're locking that in. Okay. The cops show up. They arrest the guy in the cloak, and they take the theater mask off. And it's the doorman that they met earlier. The doorman that they met and talked to earlier was a real guy. but he had a puppet version of himself that he placed at the desk to mess with the kids. But, and you're going to like this, the doorman was actually the owner of the puppets, Pietro, from Pietro's Puppets. He had been counterfeiting money in his theater. Well, it's not his theater, but the theater that he was using to run his puppet shows. And so when the kids showed up to the theater that night, he thought maybe he could just scare them off using the puppets and freaking them out, because no one would believe a bunch of teenagers like claiming to see a Viking and a pirate and stuff.
Yeah.
And they stuck around and beat him with a tuba. so
this is real. This is actually like you're not kidding. This actually happened.
It's a true crime case.
A puppeteer?
Yes. Here's what's crazy. Pietro went to jail. The kids, they get an insane story from a regular Saturday night.
Yeah.
The wildest part of all, as the cop is taking away Pietro, he goes, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for these meddling kids.
He didn't. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to Unleashed, a fake true crime podcast where I try to see if my guests can figure out, wait a second, this is an episode of Scooby Doo.
No, I actually did not. That's actually really funny.
Were you at all suspicious?
I was suspicious that it was real, but I also
you kept going, is this real?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because when Robert guested the last episode, he wasn't being like, is this fake? Is this real? What he was saying was like, he was like poking holes in it a little bit, where he was like, oh, and so they did this? Like, how does that work? Like, he would just he was poking holes in it. But this time, you just straight were like, is this real? My goal was, I thought people were going to catch on pretty quick. So I wanted to see how long it would take my guests.
Yeah.
But so far, neither one of you have gone, is this an episode of Scooby Doo? What's funny about the last episode is Robert goes, this sounds like an episode of Twin Peaks.
I will say something Scooby Doo floated in my mind, but it never was like, oh, I think it's a Scooby Doo episode.
At what point were you like, this feels Scooby Doo like?
I think it was when the Viking puppet showed up. I was like, this is real?
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure out like what is happening. So I'm trying to okay. Yeah, I do feel a little bit like an idiot now that I
don't feel like an idiot.
But it was, I think the puppets, the Viking puppet and the pirate puppet is when I was like,
when I talk about the guy at the front desk, the doorman being a puppet, what was just going through your brain at that point?
At that point, I feel like I had to have accepted this world or not.
You know what I mean? We live in.
Yeah. So if I can't believe the doorman was a puppet, I'm also not going to believe the pirate and the Viking come out of nowhere. So I was suspending my belief enough to be like, okay, cool. I want it. It's funny, going back in your head and thinking about what you thought. It's hard to know if it was actually that, or you're like, no, actually.
In hindsight, yeah.
I think I was kind of starting to suspect the doorman.
What's so funny too is while they're listening to me tell the story, they're also getting to see the moments from the Scooby Doo episode.
Oh, that's so fun.
So you don't get that though.
Yeah.
You only get to hear me, your friend, that has said, will you please come on this true crime show?
Yeah, that's so true. I had
you
no
have
idea
no context.
No context. It's also funny because knowing who you are and what you do, you finding the weirdest true crime stories and them being actually true, it doesn't sound it sounds like something you would do. So that's also the fact that it was you in this format also helps lend.
I've also been kind of playing with your mind all day too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I keep telling you, hey, don't go look at my YouTube channel. Don't go look into this because there's a twist.
Yeah.
There's a twist element I want to keep secret until we get there.
Yeah.
So you've been hearing me say that a lot.
All day.
And then once the second we started the episode, I go, here's the twist. You have to solve the mystery. Your brain immediately is like, okay, this is what I've been brought here to do.
That's true. The entire time. And I will say that really helps because the entire time I'm like, I have to keep so many of this.
Exactly. You're trying to keep track of all the details so you can solve it.
Exactly. Yeah.
How were you a little frustrated when I was like, all right, solve it? And you were like, there's no information.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I guess like the only clue you really gave me was the Pierre thing.
Which you nailed it.
Which is fun because that was like really the only like clue, right?
Yeah.
The only other time I was like, and again, I think it was I didn't have time to think too much into this thought because I was like, all right, no, I got to keep these details up. But them running back and forth, I remember thinking, this is like
it's like a Scooby Doo.
Yeah. But I was just like, but in my head, I was just like,
this is crazy. Life is crazy.
What? If that even is crazy, I was just like, what are these dumb kids? Like, they just ran out and they're going back in. So there's so many times we're like, all right, they're going back out. And then they go back in. And they're going back out. And I was like, you missed the harp case last time.
Right. Yeah.
They also like somebody's trying to kill them. And then but we have time to open all of these violin cases. That was another thing. I was like, wait, what? But like, it kept going, so I didn't have time to like stop and ask about it. But yeah, those are the moments where I was like, what?
It's so interesting because what I have to do is like, I take the Scooby Doo episodes and then I have to try to make them sound like a true crime case.
That's fun.
And what really helps me, and I got a ton of comments on the last one.
Yeah.
You can just say, hey, it was 1969. And you can also just say,
that was another thing you kept saying.
Yes.
Because I was like, what does that have? Like, you said it 4 times or something.
It's 1969, dude. This is a different time.
So I'm sitting there like, I got like, this is like a meme where I'm sitting there and like certain thoughts are just floating in my head where it's like Pierre puppets, 1969 doorman. Yeah. Those things have been said many times. But the reason I didn't guess the doorman was because I didn't know, like,
he was a puppet.
It was
He was a puppet.
But that was,
which is insane.
Is there any other clue that it's the doorman other than?
No, and that's what's so funny about these Scooby Doo episodes is most of the times they don't even have a suspect. Everyone thinks of Scooby Doo as like this big mystery show.
Yeah.
Most of those original episodes, it's more like a slasher because there's not a suspect. They're just running from a guy in a mask and hoping to survive. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh shit, it was this one guy that we met today."
Nice,
dude.
That's really
another
funny.
thing that's good to lean on for these is they're teenagers.
Oh, yeah.
So
that
it's
does
like,
help. That does help.
So it's like, why would they go back there? They're teenagers.
Yeah, that's literally, I was like, they're just dumb.
They're dumb kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you think of Scooby Doo episodes like that, it makes them really funny.
I'm gonna be honest, I got so like, again, I'm not very good at solving things. Like hide and seek, I'm
Me
the
either.
worst yeah. I was so desperate, I guess, at some point, especially when you got to the point with him seeing the dog, turning around, the thing gone, turning around, now the dog and the car's gone. I was like, because you kept saying it was, I didn't know, but I got to the point where I was like, is this some kind of like time where it's them driving the car?
Oh, you thought it was the teenagers?
I was like, is there some kind of like
paradox happening?
Yeah, some kind of like, I was like, that's how far I was getting at points.
That's fair, because there's a lot of like conspiracy YouTubers and stuff that would tell like these kids thought they time traveled.
Yeah, that does sound like what I do in my spare time. Let's watch those kind of videos. Yeah.
But yeah, we got to watch you try to figure out if this was a Scooby Doo episode or not. I don't think you figured it out.
I did not.
But I am going to give you bonus points because twice you went, is this real? And I had to lie to you. I panicked. And you could probably see it on my face, me panicking, because I didn't want to lie to you because I didn't know if that was fair, but I didn't know what else to say.
That's fair.
I feel like the second time you go, is this real? I just go, it's true crime.
You didn't say that. And I was like, yeah. It's almost like it was like I was like,
Gunner.
Yeah, I was like, right. You just say true crime.
Thank you for being a good sport and letting me gaslight you for 20 minutes.
Yeah, dude,
do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh, what do I want to plug?
Your Instagram is @just_gubnet.
That's true.
That's linked down below.
And if you want to see a movie I wrote and directed that Chase is starring in, it's on YouTube called Skate Away 2K.
Yes.
That's what I'll plug.
I'll have that link down below too.
Yeah. And watch The Bondsman. That's canceled now, but the first season I'm in, and it is fun. It's got Kevin Bacon.
It's got Kevin Bacon. Actually, let's play another clip of Gunner with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, is it me screaming and dying? I hope so. I don't know if that's allowed on here. Maybe if it's too gory for YouTube, check it out on Amazon. It's rated R.
There you go.
Actually, is TV rated R?
It's rated TVMA. Wow. Yes, for mature audiences.
All
right. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe. If you want to see this again, make sure you comment down below. That felt way too YouTuber.
That was so fun.
Would you like to know how I usually end my YouTube videos?
Yeah.
I usually just go, all right, dope, and then it just ends.
All right, we got to do it at the same time.
All right, ready?
Yeah. Okay, you got to do on 3.
3, 2, 1.
All right, dope.